Welcome to Closet Cosplay, the podcast where we help you create con-worthy cosplays on a closet budget. I'm LJ.
And I'm Michelle. And today we're going to be talking about Six the Musical, which is about the six wives of Henry VIII. It's a British musical. And the reason we're talking about Six the Musical is because we got a suggestion from Casey to do Anne Boleyn today.
Which I only knew about Anne Boleyn from history, so the idea that there is a musical about her is pretty great. Now, I had never heard of this one, but apparently you have actually listened to some of it.
I've heard a couple songs from it on a Chance Spotify musical theater playlist.
Figures.
So that's where I heard a couple songs from it. But the premise is that it's the six wives of Henry VIII, and they're putting on a pop concert, and they're basically each singing about their amount of suffering at his hand to become the lead singer of the pop group.
What a lovely thing to be singing about.
It's pretty cool, though. It's pretty cool. So, Anne Boleyn, and these are the things that Casey mentioned to us were most important about this character's costuming and what she wanted in her cosplay. So, Anne Boleyn in the pop group musical dresses in green, and Casey brought up a really cool point that the song Green Sleeves was written about Anne Boleyn. So she said, I want green sleeves. I want green to be important.
Well, apparently that was what the costume, because I remember I was doing a little bit of research on it, and that's what the costume designer was like, because somebody asked, like, she did some Q&A on, like, Instagram or something, I think, and they were like, well, why did you pick green for Anne Boleyn? And she was like, well, there's some text that's writing about her, and it talks that describes her as having green sleeves, so that was her color inspiration.
It's an interesting choice. So, moving on to the cosplay itself of Anne Boleyn. So, this isn't historically accurate Anne Boleyn. Obviously, this is a pop concert. So, Anne Boleyn's costume is majority green and black in the colors. She wears fishnets. She wears a crop top. She wears these spiky...
It's very, like...
studded things.
It reminds me a lot of, like, raver punk kind of stuff from, like, when I was in high school. I in fact, have a dress that almost looked very similar to that, circa 2005. I'll date myself there.
Nice. Okay, so what we did is we put an Amazon list together, obviously, of kind of some pieces we thought could work for Casey. And what we found is, and one of the things that was most important to her was accuracy.
Yes.
And so with accuracy being most important, we got a couple reference photos from Casey herself in our email. And we also kind of looked up the character on her own.
Yeah.
And it seems like in the different, stage versions, the different actresses that play Anne Boleyn, there have been multiple different costumes for the characters. So what we ended up with was the best accurate cosplay we could make through Amazon, kind of combining elements of all three.
Yeah, because what we ended up finding was, like, I think one of the biggest ones, not to get too into the weeds just yet, but say, for instance, her little cuff bracer things. Like, we were at first trying to stay, like, really within the parameters of what, hey, this costume and this picture looks like this, therefore everything should be that. But there's a lot of mixing and matching that goes on in several of the pictures in the stage performances. Yes. So when we were having trouble trying to find a bracer that's more of the green with the fishnet and everything like that, like, we had kind of a tough time finding it. So instead, we went with one of the more plain ones that's like a black bracer. And then this is one of the ideas that I had. So the dress, obviously, is very unique, which I'm sure we'll put a picture somewhere in this area for reference. And it's very unique, and at first glance it's pretty intimidating to try to figure out a closet cosplay for that, because a lot of pieces for cosplays are things you would wear out. Most people are not going to be wearing out a boned pleather black fishnet, dress with green bright mirrored stuff on it. But
we have done our best.
We have done ourselves. And I think we figured out something pretty clever.
I think we did. So, LJ's genius idea, which I would have never thought of in a million years, was what?
So, looking at this thing, the first thing that I thought of was like, this looks like reflective tape. And They actually, and I was like, oh, you know what? Like, instead of, like, you're not going to be able to find this dress anywhere. In fact, we found one on Etsy. They wanted $1,000 for this dress.
And that was not in Casey's budget.
It's not going to be
not
in
my
budget.
budget either.
It's not in all three of our budgets combined, really.
Yes.
So, looking at this dress and remembering back to that black pleather dress that I owned when I was in high school, I was like, you know what would have been really simple is if you took that black pleather dress and you cut, because it's a grid, like her dress is in squares, you can just cut those squares of this green reflective tape and it's going to look very, very similar and actually will be super cool with any pictures that show up in Flash.
Because it'll shine and it'll look cool if you walk anywhere.
Oh,
like, just when you walk, it'll, like, reflect.
It's gonna look really cool, I think. So, like, while this is, yes, a little bit more crafty, this is very simple craft. I mean, it's literally just cutting squares.
And sticking it on the base piece. So, the skirt that Anne Boleyn wears in the musical, how would you describe this? Like a skater skirt, I guess, is what it is?
So, yeah, it's like kind of a skater skirt, and in the show, and this is another thing, I was very interested in the costumier's Q&A, and somebody asked her, like, do you have boning in the skirt?
Because it looks very, like, shaped.
Yeah, it's shaped. And yes, there is boning in it. So, but, you know, you're not going to really have to worry that much. And if you want more form to it, I would suggest just putting a short petticoat under it. They make the real short petticoats. And so we found this skater skirt that we'll show.
Yes.
And
it's black. It's just a plain black skirt, but it's got, like, it's not pleats, but it's just got the kind of, like, separation look without it being boned.
Right.
So I thought that would be a great piece to purchase for this one.
Yeah.
And then, like LJ said, it's a plain black skirt, but you take the tape, cut it into strips, and then stick it on the skirt, and you've got that look you're going for.
Yeah, you're going to have that green stuff. And especially since we're using this tape to replicate that green mirrored vinyl, which is what it's actually made out of, it's going to be uniform. You're not trying to find a top piece and a bottom piece or something. It's all going to match.
Which it's like, if you just did black with the green tape, yeah, you can get everything to look the way you want it to look.
Yeah.
You can, put these pieces together.
And it's going to be way more affordable and easy than trying to stitch together green vinyl over a black dress.
Absolutely. And a lot less work, I would think, just to cut out tape. So, another thing that was really important that Casey said she wanted was her choker, because of the way she died. It was very, like, symbolic.
Oh, interesting.
Yes. So, when I picked out the choker, I mean, there's a couple different ways you could do this, right? I think you could get one of those thick leather chokers or a thick velvet choker that honestly you could find in a 3-pack at Walmart or Claire's or anything like that for probably cheaper than Amazon's going to have it. However, on our Amazon list, I've included kind of a thick, almost lace detailed choker, but the thing that's missing is the big B she wears. And to me, I was like, okay. At first, I looked at big B earring, but I mean, they're only so big. Right. I was like, I need bigger. I need,
yeah, because it's very prominent.
It is super prominent.
Costume.
It is super prominent. I mean, it identifies her really. So that's, like, to me, one of the most important things you can find.
Definitely.
So I have 2 thoughts on the big B. One of them is on the Amazon list. One of them I saw in Hobby Lobby. So first, the Amazon list. I picked a big B keychain, which you can get these in gold or silver. I think it depends on kind of what you're doing. I would go silver, but I think the one in the Amazon list is gold, but they had a silver option.
Variations on it, yeah.
And it has a keychain attached, but obviously, like, cut that off, and attach it just some kind of way. You could do it like hot glue. You could do any kind of strings.
You could leave it on the keychain, too.
You could leave it on the keychain, too. Lots of options.
But I think that's a clever idea because it's going to be the size that you want it.
It's going to be more prominent. So I would say either keychain, or the second idea I had was I was in Hobby Lobby, and it was like just a little figurine that you would put on your desk or a decoration. And it was a B. It was the letter B. You know how they have those little letters where you can spell stuff out or whatever? Mm-hmm. You could get a letter B, find one that's not that heavy, and just attach it to the choker. depending on how big you want it and how heavy and whatever.
That's a good thought. You do have to
do.
think about weight, like however long you're going to be wearing this.
That's
now,
true.
Casey did say that, her original idea for this stuff is for TikTok, which is very popular right now, and there's a ton of cosplay out there for it. And considering this is a musical, it's a perfect fit because that's what people do on TikTok. So, if you're not going to be wearing it for very long, weight may not be a concern.
You may want the bigger, shinier piece.
But if you're, Casey, you mentioned you might also wear this to a Broadway con. That might be something to consider. How comfortable is this? How heavy is this? Especially around your neck.
Yeah.
And if you're going to be wearing a wig, which you mentioned.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. Okay. So, when she mentioned green sleeves, and this isn't accuracy, but I included it on the list just in case you really wanted a green sleeve. We found a crop top kind of mesh green, and it has long sleeves on it, so that you could have that green sleeve. And you could put it under another piece that we found, which was a black faux leather peplum shirt.
Yeah. Peplum is a funny word, and I like to say it.
Peplum.
Peplum. Now, when we were originally looking for tops to match this skirt, it was kind of difficult because because her top, not only is it have like this little, and again, there are a couple different variations of it. One of it's the very Elizabethan like ribbons that kind of come along, and then there's one that's just sort of like a cup. I don't remember what you call that.
Well, one was almost like a shoulder, kind of out almost. It was like a leather kind of out cut.
Yeah. And then it's sleeveless, and then it's like a crop top. So it's like, and it has a collar. So it's very unique. And so we were having trouble finding this, and then we were talking, and she's like, oh, here's this one, this peplum top, and I just, light bulb went off in my head, because one of the variations of the top is that it has those same ribbons that are at the top. It's got similar ones that are at the bottom of
now,
the
I will say,
top.
this is not one of the photos Casey gave us.
True.
This is one of the photos we found, Casey, so if you go search it, I promise you this photo is out there.
This one was another one of like the official original Broadway cast kind, but it's got so basically a peplum top, which obviously we're gonna have a picture of somewhere on the screen. You can see it's tight to about the crop top length, and then it's got a flare.
Right.
And so the idea that I had was to mimic those little plates that she has come off of the crop top, is you would just simply cut that. You would cut slits in it and cut spacing in it, and you would have the exact same kind of silhouette and shape of that top.
And it would look really neat too, because you could put the reflective tape on like each little square you cut, so you would have these cool little like flaps kind of.
Yeah, like hers were black, but you could totally do that. Again, I think you're going to be so close with that green reflective tape and the black outfit that people are going to instantly recognize
and you can have the creativity. And that big B on your neck, I feel like that would give it away for sure.
Definitely.
And another piece that I feel like is pretty important are like the spiky little studded bracelet looking things on her space buns.
Which she's got.
Yeah, I have a couple. So these are actually the ones from my Bowsette cosplay, which is listed on an Amazon list, Bowsette and Boozette, which also comes with the collar as well, which you could totally use this for Anne Boleyn. I mean, options.
Yeah.
So I would get those just to kind of give that extra thing. I mean, even if you put your own hair in space buns, tease it up real big, and pop some studs on them. I mean, I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, which is why we have our hair in space buns. Now, I have a little bit of space bun envy because I've never done this before.
Mine fell down for sure.
I feel like right now I'm serving some Sailor Moon realness right now.
There you go. Okay, so LJ briefly mentioned the bracers that she had. Well, now that we've mentioned the reflective tape, that's what we would do.
Yes. So again, it's the black, and then you just. This is why it's so much more simple, and why we went with this version, because you just it's the same length as she has, and then you literally just wrap it with the green reflective tape, and you're done.
And you've got green and black bracers.
You're
and
good.
You don't have to search for the super expensive green and black, super fancy, fighty bracers that could cost you $100. You don't want to do that. Oh, if you go with the ribbon detail, that's awesome. If you like the sharper leather detail, I did find this kind of steampunk shoulder jacket that has a collar and a like kind of sharper edge shoulder.
I actually really like
just
this piece.
as an option.
I really like that piece, and I will touch on the ribbon version of that. What you would just do is you would just tape. You would take that same green reflective tape, and you would just tape it to itself, double it over, and attach it on each side, and so you have that ribbon look without having to
I think that'd be so
else.
cute. You're obviously going to need to get multiple rolls of this tape.
Yeah,
because we're using it for everything.
You're using it for everything, but honestly, it's cheap. It's just reflective tape,
right?
Which is good.
Oh, one thing I wanted to mention: Casey did say that she had fishnets already, and I think she said she had the boots.
She has the boots, the wig, and the fishnets.
Right. So we didn't really look too far into that. The reason I found and added a fishnet body stocking, which is wild. Okay, just understand that it's wild. But the reason I did it is because even when you cut that peplum top, if you have the body stocking, then you'll see the fishnets on the stomach area. So I just wasn't quite sure how high your fishnets came up, Casey. But this is another option for anybody that wants to do this cosplay. I put a kind of wider fishnet, just it shows more skin, and a closer fishnet that shows less skin. And
which I think she has a closer fishnet.
She does. It almost looks black.
Yeah. Which personally, I have worn the bodysuit tight fishnet for other cosplays before, and I really like them because you're not having to worry about making sure that they stay up around your waist or if they're in the wrong spot, because it's shoulders down, so it stays really well in place.
So just as another option for this cosplay, if you wanted the fishnet to show across your stomach, hey, if you want to show your stomach, go for it. That's awesome too. Body positivity, that's amazing. Yeah. And another thing we added just so you could add details if you wanted to get craftier with it.
Yeah, so one of the other things that you'll notice on her outfit is that she has these little, the pyramid studs.
Yes.
That you see on a lot of things. And they make just strips of that as a sewing detail. And you can, we added it on here for reference so you know what we're talking about. If you want to go that extra mile, totally up to you. Again, we're very much about how much effort do you want to put into this?
Right.
But we still try to make that effort pretty easy.
Right.
You could take this and in between those black squares where you put them, you would just glue this stuff. And, they make all sorts of fabric glue that you would you don't have to sew it, you just glue it on, but it would give you those stud details. You can get it in black, silver,
and eye-catching too. Yeah, and I mean, if you got it in black, it might be less bam in your face.
Which I think is what on her costume, it is black. Which if you cannot find black, spray paint. I'm a fan of spray paint.
There you go. I mean, easy.
I that's what I do with a lot of my stuff, and you would never know. I think, let's see.
I put some, I know Casey's all about accuracy, but for anybody else approaching Anne Boleyn that wants to get a little more hey, I want a piece for my closet, I put some sparkly tanks in here. I put a square pattern dress in that comes in green that would just be a more casual closet cosplay option. I have a green pleated skirt in there. So it's not an accurate depiction. It's just some creative options I found.
It's an actual what would be traditionally termed a closet cosplay. It is hinting at the character. Which will have notes on everything. So you'll be able to tell what pieces go where and what you should be doing with each of the pieces and kind of explaining our thought process behind it. That way you don't have to, listen through the whole episode again. But overall, I think this is I do not know the character or the show, but this to me would be a super fun one to cosplay.
Oh, absolutely.
I think it will turn out really, 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 really cool. I really hope that you do this, and if you do, please send us pictures.
Yes,
because I would absolutely love to see it.
To see how this turns out, for sure. That reflective tape was just genius to me when I heard it. I thought
the smartest idea I've had all year.
There you go. I mean, in 2020, the bar is set pretty low, but still, you're a genius. So
I'll take it.
Yeah, fan yourself. Give yourself some credit. Reflective tape for cosplay.
Yeah, but
amazing.
If anybody else has any suggestions, we would love to do this again. I like being told I'm a genius, so more opportunities to do that, please. Kidding, obviously, but.
Our suggestion form can be found on our Facebook page. You can also email us at closetcosplaypodcast@gmail.com and just tell us a topic you'd like us to talk about or ask us to link you the suggestion form if you can't find it, and we will gladly send it over to you.
Yeah. Costume suggestions, anything cosplay related, we're happy to discuss it.
If you enjoy the show, tell us that in an email too.
Like that too.
Anything. We love to hear from you guys. And I think that's going to do it for us this time.
That's it for today.
Bye, guys.
Bye.